Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, and if you haven't guessed already, the voting system seems to be working quite nicely in videos, and we are today going to be looking at this Class 142 by Dapol, known as the Pacer. Now this one here is in the old school Great Western livery. That's what's written on the box, and it's nice to see actually. Dapol tend to put this on their boxes, the minimum radius curves you can do are one radius curves. So yeah, I'm sure it'll do that, but we've got to get it running. So let's take it to the test track and see what it's doing and not doing, and go from there, shall we? Okay then, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually test these separately. So I've got a dummy, the dummy end here. So the dummy has no motor in it. I can feel the weight difference. The dummy has no motor, and then the power car does have a motor. So just a quick look, I can see actually it's quite oily, and there's a lot of hair in that wheel for a start. Yummy. So using DC, this won't move, but what I want to do is just check for lights, and we have forward lights, and I'll just move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here's like the zoomed in version. If you look at the headlights there, you can just about see. I'll turn the light off. Can you see? I'm actually pushing down on it. I'm trying to get a feel for all things that aren't quite right with this loco, and I would say it's got an issue there with the lights, with pickups, and I'm just going to change direction because all the forward running lights, there you go, they're staying on. I won't breathe on it. There's one on this side working, and then there's these two here, and I'll change direction and hopefully we get a red. 3, 2, 1. Yes. Whew. Okay, so we aren't soldering a PCB on this one, I don't think. And that's about all I can do. I would say, so my diagnosis with this one straight away is the pickups are useless. It has very little rolling resistance, which is fantastic. That seems to move beautifully. So the next thing is we'll just do the same test with the power car. And so here we go. Exactly the same, except this one might move because it's got a motor in it. Hopefully it moves, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's pretty much, that is full power. Okay, give it a bit of a wiggle. Hello? She wants to go. I saw all them lights working as well then. So we've got the motor working and our forward lights working. I've gone backwards on the controller. Okay, so I saw 2 lights there. It's very twitchy with power. Wow. Okay. Okay, so from those quick bits and bobs that I've just shown you there, I think they're just dirty. So let's just, and I can tell you they're on DC as well. There'd be a slight delay if they had decoders fitted in them. So they're both on DC. I think this is going to be a bit of a cleaning video. So let's take this over to the bench and try and clean it, shall we? Okay, so we're here at the bench now. I have a Pico foam mat type thing, so you put your locos in it. I'll put a link in the description, or alternatively you can put a bit of foam on your desk. I just find this is very handy. Now, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to show you how to get in a shell or take the body off, because I think this will add more to the video, and it's probably what you'll really want to see anyway. Because I don't actually need to get in the loco to fix this loco. The lights work, and the more times you open a Dapol loco, you are at the risk of detaching the wires from lights, because the way Dapol do these is the light unit is in the shell, and then there's 3 wires generally that go from the shell to the chassis to get the light signal. And also worth noting, these two connect together, so they share the power amongst both of them. So one's driven, but they've both got lights, and they both pick up power from the track. So even if you've got a dodgy end of the DMU, the good end that picks up power should be able to distribute the power across the whole thing. So this one's the motor driven one. You can see all the gears there. I'm not going to worry too much about those, but what we need to worry about are, because the pickups are on the ends of the axles either side, they're susceptible to getting a bit of dirt in them, but I find these are the best type you can get. So we've got those, but there's a lot of oil going on here, and I think this one isn't as bad as the dummy. I mean, look at that. Yeah, so that's not doing us any favours being in there, because we need power to get transmitted from the wheels to the loco. Right, so with the pacer, you're gonna start at the back. This is the same removal process for the power car and the dummy. You start this end, don't start that end, because the wires are here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my nail between the body and the black chassis. Probably, it is awkward, I'm not gonna lie, these are quite tight fitting things. So I've got my nail in there. You can use cocktail sticks. I'm just showing you my way. You can use bits of credit card, plastic card. Now I'm gonna hold this side whilst it's slightly open. And now I'm gonna come to the other side and do exactly the same thing. These are very tight fitting, but there you go. Because I've released the back, you're just trying to flex the shell out over the chassis. It just clips on. So the back's lifting now, but the front isn't. So I'm going to continue here on the back to lift up, slightly pushing it this way with the body, and it's off. I will just put this straight back on, but this just shows you how to remove the shell, okay? And you'll see just in there, our lights are here, and there's 3 wires that go to a plug, and this specific loco is Next 18 socket PCB type setup. It's not a 6-pin on this one. Another thing worth noting though is on the pacers, I love this, what they do with Dapols. You'll see in the roof there's a slot in there. Now that's actually for a light bar you can buy from Dapol, and if I'm correct in saying so, yeah, if you buy the light bar from Dapol, it goes in that roof slot that is up in there, and then a plug comes down towards the back and plugs in here. So you can add lights to the interior of your pacers, and people, if you're taking the shell off. You might have to cut their lower half off, but I'm not going to mess with any of that, I don't think. I'm not even going to remove the plug. If you want to know, the plug pulls out, so this little piece down here pulls out of that socket. So like we've removed it, I'll put the front down at the front there. I'll go to the back. So it's hinging roughly around here. This is the safest way. And you're checking the exhaust goes over the back of the chassis, and I'm going to just squash them together, and we get a positive click. And there we go. Yeah, that's on properly now. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll start with the dummy. You see the wheel there. We're going to clean all of them on the power car and dummy, but we're starting with the dummy because there's less to fumble around with. With my tweezers, I'm going to go between this metal contact and the wheel. Okay. I'm not trying to pull it. What I'm going to do is lever these tweezers. Like that. Go to the other side. And we'll do the same thing. And Bob's your uncle. Okay, that's out. So put that to one side. You can do these one at a time. I'm just going to do the whole lot in one hit. Okay, so I've got all my bits and bobs ready. This is a glass jar with 99.99% isopropyl alcohol in it. The glass jar's just from IKEA with a plastic lid. Now I do this so I can put the lid back on and the fumes don't escape. I use a paintbrush to paint the wheels clean. I've got some cotton buds just over here if I need them. They'll probably be more for the chassis. And some trusty bog roll. So what I will do, you want to be careful here that you don't splash it in your eyes, because it'll either blind you or really sting. I haven't done that yet because I'm careful. I've got some massive glasses on my head as well, so that kind of, they're working a bit like safety goggles. Be very careful. Also, I'm going to move my lovely, beautifully cosmetic train out of the way, so if I do splash this, it won't go over my loco. The whole wheel, oops, I dropped it. That is now in a whole pot of IPA. So I'm going to use some tweezers and I'm just going to brush all the crud off of it. I won't bore you too much with the details here, but you just want to make sure everything is thoroughly clean. I wouldn't leave any plastic parts in here for longer than they need to be, because I haven't had it yet, but potentially the plastic can swell up and you would have issues there. Put it over here on my lid on a bit of paper, and that can just soak away. So I'll continue doing this. You don't have to watch me cleaning all the wheels. If anything comes up that's exciting to tell you, I shall tell you. So these have just been dipped in the alcohol and brushed around. I do try and wipe off anything off the rims that might have sort of still been stuck on there. But whilst you're doing this, just have a look at the gears, because it's at this point here you want to just check all the teeth look healthy on those gears, because sometimes you can get a bit of grit in them. When it briefly ran, there's a lot of things I'm looking at when, I mean, it was only like maybe a second worth of motive power, but I'm listening to the noise of the gears, like how noisy overall the loco is, lights. There's a whole bunch of things I'm looking at when I ran it briefly, and I didn't sense anything wrong with the gears. I mean, if there is anything wrong with the gears, it won't be on these, because these are good now. These are great. These look new. In fact, by the time I'm done, the loco might as well be new, maybe even better than, because I've done the health check of it, and I guess I'm making it run as it should. I think it's not against Dapol and by any means at all, but when you're pumping these out, you can't thoroughly check things properly. You can't, run around for half an hour each way. It just wouldn't make any sense. Right, the chassis. I've just dumped some alcohol on the end of this cotton bud. And before I do this, there's a hair there, lovely, oh yummy. It's in pretty good nick. Like, I think what's happened here on these contacts is someone's tried to bend them in to make them make a better contact with the axles, but you're fighting a losing battle there, because it doesn't matter. There's oil on there, you're knackered, We're just going to put these wheels back in now, but you need to just, the gears are offset one direction. So start the gear side, get the axle in the pickup, get your tweezers down here. Now I'm going to get my tweezers in front of that pickup down there. There we go, you see it's kind of helping it lever it out of the way. And it just needs to wiggle, and it should go in its little hole. Just like that. I can't turn this wheel because the motor essentially has a worm gear on it, so no backlash is allowed really. So I can't move this, it will be locked solid. Just check it rocks backwards and forwards though, which it does. See, it's got a bit of a chatter there. That lets you know how much friction the axle has got on the pickups. It's getting sort of squished. So I'm happy with that. Let's go for the next one at the front here. So make sure there's no hairs or anything. We'll go gear end again. There we go, she is in. Make sure you got a little bit of a wiggle. You can see it moving the other gears there, but you see how these aren't moving? That's because the motor is actually just stopping them. you won't be able to turn them. So, right, let's do the dummy then. So this is the power car. And it's just the same. Pretend you've got gears in one end, and the cutout, the bigger cutout is where the gear goes. So again, we start gear end. Get our tweezers here to sort of pry it apart. Like I say, I'm not going to put oil on these. They are, I want to say they're brass contacts, so they should be self-lubricating, but it just causes issues. If you want to have a lubricant of sorts, use the graphite method. Literally get a pencil and sand the pencil away, not the wood bit, you know, the grey bit, and you can use that and put it in the pickup gaps here. It works great on Dapols. You've kind of got no choice really, because it's counterintuitive. You want to put grease on the axles to make them move better, but you won't get power to your loco if you do that. These pickups are great, but that's where they fall flat on their face is with that lubrication. But I love Dapols. I love them. The sheer details on this model. And yeah, it needs a bit of TLC to get her running right, but if this is all it needs, winner. I was expecting this thing to have dodgy lights, to be honest with you, and we were going to have to go in there and do the PCB, but they seem to be working. The other thing to look at then is under each dummy and power car, you'll see this arrangement. All this is, it's a bit like the tender wires you get on a steam loco from Dapol. There's this rail here is running down this whole side of the pacer, getting power from this side, sending it to the other car, and the other one's doing the same. So like I mentioned, they share powers. Okay, so I think we should take this back to the test track and just check that I've actually managed to solve the issue here, and yeah, we'll go from there, shall we? Okay, so we're over at the test track, and that's a good sign. I haven't even touched it and it's moving. Does it crawl? Oh yeah, look at that. And then the light change. Wow, that's a bit different, isn't it? That's fantastic. Wow, let's go run it on a layout, shall we? And yeah, wow. Okay, so oil makes that much of a difference. Let's go give it a bit of a run. Right, so the running of this loco versus how we began, it's day and night. and in actual fact, this runs better than most locos I've got on DC now. I think the length of both cars, whilst they're joined together, sharing the pickups off the track, really makes it run great. Another thing that might not have come across on screen that well, A, is the details on this, but also max speed on this loco isn't that fast, which is good because this loco wasn't mega fast, but it's good for pulling away from stations and creeping quite slowly. It's got more torque lower down because it's geared to run slower. So, you know, don't be afraid that's running. It doesn't run super slow, but I just thought it would be worth a mention on that. It's geared to run at a scale speed, shall we say. Right. Another thing is that I've got another one of these. So in the future for crew works, I'm going to doll one up with all the upgrades. So don't worry, we will revisit a 142. And another thing I want to mention is if the cleaning in the wheels hasn't helped you out fix yours, if you've got this issue, take the shell off like I showed you and just check for some loose wires there. There might be a loose wire going to one of the PCBs, or your blanking chips or your decoders aren't quite in the socket properly. That can happen, so check those things out. And if you like this video, maybe give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, maybe think about subscribing. But that's it, guys. I shall see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.